Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second TRIIBE Talk. My name is Chirag, and today I'm filling in for the CEO, Kyle, who couldn't join us because he's currently in Davos trying to solve the world's problems, right? They were like, we definitely need this guy on deck right now. But coming in today, TRIIBE's mission is to help next-gen nonprofit founders continue their work. Less than 1% of funding reaches youth-led organizations, and as a result, 80% of nonprofits fade within their first year. The hope is that we can change this and with your support, make a big difference as we move forward. But as we continue into today's session, let me first start by showing a quick video explaining what this series is all about.
The quality of one's work. On our podcast, introducing TRIIBE Talk, where we alternate between current and next-gen leaders to show that age doesn't impact the quality of one's work. On our podcast, we share real stories from changemakers at every stage, so you can hear what the journey actually looks like as it's happening. In our workshops, we go hands-on, giving you practical, actionable tools to build skills, grow ideas, and turn purpose into impact.
Whether you're an entrepreneur, fill entrepreneur, or intrapreneur.
Okay. Amazing. Actionable strategies from current and next-gen changemakers. And our changemakers today, we're first going to start off by hearing something from Mahir Laul, from Velrick. Velrick is currently working on building the benchmark for AI-based hiring with already over 1,000 users and on track to onboard about 60 partners and over 10,000 users in the upcoming weeks. After that, we'll be joined by Nick Salvatoriello. Did I get that right? There we go.
Sure.
We were practicing that backstage. Now, Nick is currently at Next Level Bound. He is a professional event facilitator and host. Guys, how are you feeling right now?
Excited.
Great.
Yeah, I love that.
Here.
Amazing. Now, Kyle has told me, Chirag, no rambling, and he's been very strict on time here. We want to make sure that everyone finishes on time. The goal here is that each of our speakers will have about 30 minutes. Mahir, sorry, I'm cutting into your 30 minutes right now. But Mahir, you're going to be going first for us and then talking through your sort of conversation of how do you pursue ambition, whether that's through your life journey and currently the startup that you're working on. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and actually pass it off to you right now.
I hope my slides are presentable.
Let's do that right now. One moment. I have to remove this, and there we go. Now, Nick, I'm going to join you backstage, and we're going to let Mahir own the show from here.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate you and Kyle for having me on TRIIBE Talk. I think it's a great honor. For most of you who don't know me, my name is Mahir Laul. I'm the CEO and founder of Velrick. And today I'm going to be talking about how I basically took the leap from being a regular NYU student to a founder at 18 who has had some sort of success. And success in the way of I just got started and making the moves, not success in the way of money or oh wow, companies here, but in the success of I got started. And that is a big move. And as you can see, I really want to talk about taking the leap. And that's one of the biggest things that you can do. Choosing ambition before you feel ready. I'm not here because I figured it out, but I'm here because I moved first and I moved fast. I want to spend some time to introduce myself in a little bit of more detail. Like I said, this whole talk right now for my side is it's not because I have it's because I moved before a lot of people did, and I stayed in class for literally 3 weeks before I decided this wasn't for me, and I took a leave of absence, and that's continuing to focus fully on both. So a little bit about me. I'm 18 years old. I started, I'm a founder, first time, started Velrick in August, and I have a very multicultural background. I was born in New York, I'm currently in New York. I was born in New York, and then I moved to India at a very young age. Lived there for around 5 years. That's where I learned how to speak Hindi, Gujarati, and Punjabi. And then I moved to Canada in 2014. Lived in various places across Canada, all the way from up north, where near the polar bears, as you can say.
Mahir, if I can, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, my brother. It's just that your audio is a little bit low. Would it be possible to speak either a little bit louder? We can hear some of the background noise coming in more than your voice itself.
Gotcha. Is this better?
This is much better. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You might need to scream a little bit. Yeah, no worries. And again, I'll take this moment as well. I see some people are already starting to drop comments. Once again, a perfect way in order to let Mahir and Nick know that you are actually paying attention and that they're being valued for the work that they're doing is to drop comments, even if it's just words of encouragement or reinforcing some of the things they've already said. And if you have any questions, we'll keep that for the end for them to answer as well. Take it away, Mahir.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope this is better.
It is. Right. It is better. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, we as I was saying, we lived near the polar bears at Fort St. John, very close to Yukon. Went to elementary school there, moved to Kelowna, moved to Vancouver. So I've moved around a lot, and I've learned ever since I was young. I've always been making new friends as I go along. And then in grade 10, I decided to go to an acting high school in Michigan. It's called Interlochen Arts Academy. It is one of the best performance arts boarding schools in the world. Currently ranked #1 in the United States and top 5 all over the world. That's where I learned how to be present, how to communicate, and how to handle rejection. The bridge between acting and the acting training that I have and running a business and a startup is really there. I mean, I don't think I would be where I am right now without the training that I've had, because this background truly gave me the confidence. And from there, I went on to getting accepted into NYU, and I went to NYU Tisch, where I figured out really quick that this wasn't for me. It's not that acting wasn't for me. It was the fact that Interlochen gave me such a good base where I felt like Tisch was just going a little bit slow. And at that point, Velrick had started gaining some traction, and that's when I decided to put my foot down and fully focus on Velrick. I chose to leave NYU, and recently I was featured in Business Insider, but not for business purposes per se. One of my friends got a chance. He has a friend who.
Mahir, I'm so sorry, my friend. Sort of interrupt one more time. Unfortunately, the audio. Now that you're speaking louder, I think your headphones are trying to now capture the background audio as well. Would it be possible if you're on Mac to move one of the commenters left, switch to voice isolation mode, or if not, would it be possible to maybe hold one of the earbuds up to your mouth so it becomes almost a mic essentially?
Is this better?
This is better for me. Daniel P. Green, you seem to be the one sort of responding to us here. If you can let us know if this is working.
Testing.
Yeah, speaking.
Hello. Testing. I hope this is better.
This is better for me, at least. Why don't you continue for now? If it's not, I'll come back in to interrupt here.
Awesome. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. Unfortunately, not as we are hearing a lot of the background noise in the background.
Gotcha. Let me check.
Or if
is this better? I have the reduced background noise and I've turned up the mic volume, so hopefully that should be a little bit clear.
It is a bit, but it's like when you start to speak, we do catch some of the background noise. Do we want to do this? I apologize, Mahir, just to for the sake to let you sort of figure out the tech side in the background. You and I can chat in the back. Actually, would you mind if we just switch over to Nick for now? Let him sort of go
for sure,
and then you and I can figure out the tech in the background there.
Awesome,
right? Awesome. Sorry,
Sounds
man,
good.
to do that to you there. Yeah.
No worries at all.
Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is actually bring up Nick for us right now. Nick, once again, is an event coordinator and host, and he's going to be talking about how to put together really powerful sort of events and webinars, sort of walking you through some of the secrets that he's learned along the way. Nick, without further ado, please take it away.
Thank you for having me, Chirag, and welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. And Mahir was really enjoying your story. Yes, you're in the depths of New York City. You're in the hustle. You know, you're on the street. So it's good to hear like the beats and rhythms of evening in New York. But yes, it'd be nice if we can get a little bit of audio isolation, do some troubleshooting in the background. So, and maybe a poignant topic for me to be talking about here. So again, formally, I'm so glad that Kyle invited me to speak to you all. I really enjoyed meeting Kyle several weeks ago, told me about what TRIIBE was all about. I said, this is amazing, man. I wish this type of offering or this group existed when I was in college. It might have changed my life in terms of what I could think would be possible in the nonprofit arena. Intern of the United Nations, and definitely considered the nonprofit route, but then felt kind of like how TRIIBE has talked about, that there wasn't much of an on-ramp for me being a kid from New Hampshire and in the greater Boston area, and that I better go into entrepreneurship and startups, and you'll hear a bit more about that. No regrets in the end. I'm just trying to say you're very fortunate to be here right now. If you're young, if you're interested in making a dent in the universe, you're in the right community, you're on the right call. So as Chirag said, my real focus today, and has been for many years, you'll hear about, is helping put on good gatherings, things that aren't boring. I think we've all been on gatherings or programming where the speakers just were not inspired, the plan was not that solid, and it created a subpar experience. I try to help folks, and I'm going to talk to you about today how you can avoid that from happening. If you can, I'll show you some of my best tools of the trade. And by way of background, I started over at HubSpot, which is a pretty well-known startup here out of Cambridge, Mass. And I was one of the first couple hundred employees there. I stuck with them through their IPO, an absolutely just revolutionary experience for me. And I worked in HubSpot Academy. My whole job was to do this right here, talking 3 or 4 times a day to different small audiences of marketers, sales leaders, business owners about how they could communicate and sell and market more effectively using digital technology and the internet, right? And so through that extension, I became a pretty seasoned webinar and podcast and event producer and host. I had to do that for my job. I went on and did that at other startups. And I started to realize, hey, I've got a real knack for this. People keep coming to me for this internally saying, can you host the All Hands, Nick? Can you host our quarterly lead gen webinar? Can you be the MC for our big in-person event? And I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. I love the rush of us throwing something like this together like we did here today. And I've been able to do 250 different types of events, large, small, hundreds of people, a dozen people, global audience, local user group right here in Boston, you name it. My company's called Next Level Inbound, just an inbound tip of the hat to HubSpot, creating content experiences that draws you forward. Next level, trying to take whatever you're doing or you're planning doing today, how can we take that to the next level? And I'll talk to you about some tools and some techniques that I do that you can steal and borrow from to do the same yourself. So why webinars in the first place, right? Aren't they a little bit tired? No, they're a marketing staple. On24, which is a leading webinar software provider, found that the majority of sales and marketing leaders are saying this is one of the best ways for them to generate leads. I know you're not all sales and marketing leaders here. You're not all B2B, but suffice it to say, lots of leaders who do sales and marketing think this is valuable. Most companies out there are using webinars as part of their content marketing strategy. So if you're not, you're in the minority, not the majority. And why not? They're cost effective. How much did it cost for all of us to put this thing on, right? How much did it cost you to show up tonight? They are very effective at being able to have us all convene, and interact. And if we were actually calculating how many dollars would it cost us to generate a lead out of these types of programs, historically is much lower, as you can imagine, to do that digitally than to rent a space, fly staff out, catering, food, security, liability, all this type of stuff. And then the reason number 3, and Mahir, I feel like you were kind of getting at this, is that we're in an increasingly global and cosmopolitan world. We have people all over the place with great stories to tell who maybe can't get themselves into physical locations where the storytelling could happen. So I think it's actually, it's right and it's just for us to be having a sort of webinar or virtual component, even if you are doing something in person. What about those people for whatever reason? And there's a variety of reasons, some of which are not their fault or nothing they can help, that they just couldn't be there economically, physically, whatever it is. So webinars, hopefully you're convinced, is something worth your time and is the right thing for your nonprofit, your initiative to be considering. Podcasts, I think, are in the same boat. They're sort of the cousins of podcasts. They sort of are the second life of a webinar. Sometimes it gets repurposed as a podcast, or sometimes a podcast interview. You go, this is really good. I think we should turn this into a webinar. Sometimes you have a bit of a hybrid. This show itself is somewhat of a podcast that's being recorded and put on live. Ain't it great? And the stats here below are simply backing up the fact that we know it. Lots of people are getting in on. How many people have listened to a podcast this week? I think all of our hands virtually would be going up. They're powerful content channel, cost effective once again, create long lasting, deep engagement with customers, and they connect with audiences more flexibly. I remember I've been in sales in a variety of different roles, and I've had multiple anecdotes talking to a prospect who said, I was just listening to you for an hour while I was running today. There's no other content in the world that I can produce that would have that type of impact and be in somebody's ear, in somebody's head for an hour. What would you pay to have that? All you need to do is maybe turn your webinar into a podcast, turn your podcast into a webinar. They go hand in hand. So we'd like to interact here. Chirag's been doing a great job reminding us how important that is for your retention, for your engagement here. So let's have a little bit of trivia here. Let you folks be part of the show, right? So here's a trivia for you. Question 1, what percentage of webinar attendees would you say are likely to leave a webinar early if it isn't engaging enough? What percentage would you think? Is it A, put an A in the chat if you think it's 15%, drop me a B if you think it's 35% would leave, C, 50%, or D, 75%. Let us know in the chat what your vote is. What do you think it's the minority, the majority of people, if we weren't doing engaging interactive prompts like this, would probably head out or tune out early? All right, Daniel's saying D, the majority. Prisha, A, yeah, could be. Yes, we got the extremes covered. Anybody in the middle? Anybody voting for C? All right, Chirag saying C, perhaps. So the answer is D, Daniel, right? According to On24, who again studies this thing, they're in the business, 75% of attendees would abandon a webinar if the content's not engaging. And maybe they wouldn't straight up log out, but they're doing something else, right? On the other screen, the other window, they're walking around, putting their attention better spent elsewhere, right? So entertaining and educational content is crucial to keep your audience engaged and coming back for more. We have to up the interactive factor. We have to up our little bit of creativity. That's why I call this high performance marketing. If you want high performance out of something like this, you got to put on a bit of a performance, put on a little bit of show, some polish, visual aids, interactive sort of gambits like this. I know, Daniel, right. Audio, definitely something. But please bear with us. This is a labor of love. This is a volunteer effort. And I know Mahir's doing his best, but fair enough. Yes, audio is another big key thing that we always want to check on. Proof in the pudding. Mahir, we can talk, right, about your organization. Maybe we can do a little coaching after this. So here's another one for you. Now that I got your attention, let's keep the trivia going. See who's going to nail this one. How much higher are engagement rates in webinars that incorporate interactive elements like polls and Q&A compared to those that don't? Are they 20% higher? Are they 30% higher? 50% higher? Or 70% higher? How much higher is the engagement rate, the percentage of people who are clicking through, paying attention, interacting with you if you incorporate interactive elements? Daniel's saying D. Okay, we're seeing some C's, some A's, so maybe 50%, maybe 70%. It's C, 50% higher. So if you are not doing what I'm doing right now, which is so simple and straightforward, right, folks? It's almost like an eye roll here. If you are not asking your audience structured things and giving them a chance to participate, you're leaving 50% of the engagement that you could have on the table. Why would we do that? Right? So do things like this. I mean, most webinar software, it's out of the box. You can create polls and interactive elements. So interactive elements significantly boost engagement, and which therefore increases participation. So thank you for doing that with me. Again, that's just to walk the walk a little bit, but let's talk about some types of webinars. There's not just one type of webinar. You could do a webinar for generating leads. Do those all the time, right? We're showcasing these are our expertise. These are the products and services we might offer, and you're going to have a call to action as you want to capture leads. But maybe it's after the fact. You already have people who are part of your community. They're clients of yours, customers of yours, members of your organization, supporters, donors. You might just want to be enabling and empowering them. I feel like that's a little bit of our feeling and focus here for Tribe Talks, right? You're already part of the tribe. You're already part of the community, I might think. So we're just trying to help you maximize your value as being members and learn from each other and just drive more value out of what you're already a part of. Also, it might not even be about looking out. It might be bringing more alignment, simpatico, and unity and retention and warmth and loyalty among the team internally. I've done a lot of these. Where we're emceeing the internal all hands. We're helping inspire the brand. We're showcasing different staff and highlighting them, keeping people updated, getting them aligned with the company mission. we might actually be the Better Together webinar is my favorite. That's my jam. It's when we go, we have what we believe in. We're going to combine it with what they believe in. And we're talking about how our two perspectives add up to something new. That's oftentimes when I get called in, because these two parties are used to talking about their perspectives, but not necessarily talking about that on the same stage together, the same thread all together. And Chirag, I think honestly, we probably could tap you in for some of that sort of scripting, voice storytelling, and those types of things as well. But then live interactive workshops could be a combination of any of the above, but it's more of a, we're doing this because we want people to get stuff done. They're going to be filling a form out. They're going to be using an app. They're going to be interacting and fulfilling a challenge. And I love those as well, because you never know what can happen. And everybody leaves figuring they got something done. Okay. And they're not just sales tools. Again, that's the takeaway. They create engagement at every stage of the customer journey. That's what I'm saying, is there's an excuse to engage with people digitally like this at every single stage of the journey. And you see the menu here before you. How podcasts and webinars can work together. You heard me talk about that a little bit, but the podcast, I think, is almost like the farm team, the minor league. That's not to give short shrift to the format, but if I think I'm going to have somebody on my big webinar and I also have a podcast, which I do, I might want to interview that person on the podcast first. Lower stakes. We have a chance to do do-overs, edit stuff out. Let's get used to each other. Let's find our storyline. Let's try this out. And if that gets well received by you, the interviewee, me, the interviewer, also our followers and the subscribers, now let's go take that to a larger stage and let's go ahead and put you on the webinar. And so the podcast could promote the fact this person's coming to the webinar. The webinar can also promote the fact that we might do a podcast with this person if you do it the other way. But either way, podcasts and webinars should be chopped up. The greatest hits, the greatest highlights from a show like tonight. There should be 30 to 60 to 90 second clips that you can repurpose and fill your social feeds with for weeks. So webinars and podcasts don't just get done everything I'm talking about. They create content to fill your content calendar for weeks and weeks to come. It's a seamless content ecosystem. So webinars and podcasts, let's get them both going at your organization. But what's the challenge? Why aren't you folks already all doing this? Why do I even have a job? And why do I even think there was a good opportunity for a business here? And here's what I found working with dozens of organizations over the last 18 months is webinars, podcasts, they're often off to the side. They're mismanaged, if they're managed at all. Oftentimes the client's coming to me saying, the person who used to run our webinars, not here anymore. We've been sort of sitting on the tarmac for a couple of months. Our plane is not in the air anymore. Nobody's coming to these webinars. There's lack of alignment, internal support. How should we do these? When should we do it? Oh no, it's another episode is coming or another webinar is coming. We forgot to promote it, that type of thing. And then on the other side, if you manage to get this thing off the ground and get it scheduled, you often have poor audience engagement. The presenters are coming in separately. I've got my slide deck and they've got their slide deck. Fragmented flow, lack of continuity. And that's, again, not to point out anything that you might experience here tonight. It's just a reality that this is where we are. People are flying in with different things. You do the best that you can. And sometimes that can pass. That can be fine in a labor of love. But if you've got you've got a lead gen goal on this, you've got a lot riding on what you want to get out of this, you may not want to leave it to chance. So without having that ownership over how's the audience experience doing, the attendees could be left bored, unfulfilled, and disconnected while everybody's talking in their own echo chamber. We don't want that, right? If you're feeling me on this, like put a 1 in the chat. If you're like, I've experienced this, either the lack of strategic planning, put a 1 in the chat. If you've had a lack of strategic planning issue around your own organization or working with somebody, put a 2 in the chat. If you've been on a webinar and just felt like completely ignored, it's almost like they didn't even know there was an audience here. 1 for lack of strategic planning. If you experienced 2 for poor audience engagement, let me know where you're at. And that's all right, Prisha. You know what I mean? If that's where you're at. It sounds like Daniel's experienced both. Excellent. Keep it coming. So what else? 2 more for you. If you have done one of these, I've experienced this myself, folks. We kind of saw a little bit of this with Mahir, bless his heart. But sometimes the audio is not working. You don't get the best reception from the audience, and it spooks you. I know Mahir is a stud. He's going to be fine. We're going to hear from him in a few minutes. But I know I've worked with more senior executives, big egos and stuff like that, and they get hammered with a huge technical difficulty that they didn't anticipate, and they're flailing and failing live on the camera, and they go, I never want to do that again. And that is a real shame. And that's why they'll talk themselves out of ever bothering with it and say, webinars don't really work for us. I'm not really sure. No, you didn't really work them very well, did you? And now that's why there's missed marketing opportunities as well. They get lackluster marketing internally and externally. internally. Sometimes your own teammates in your organization don't even know, oh yeah, is the podcast today? Oh, is the webinar tomorrow? So that's why you get poor ROI. They don't send anybody to it. They don't recommend it on their sales calls or in their emails. So you get this sort of inconsistent follow through. You do all this work to put on this great show, this great webinar, whatever it is. Oh yeah, we were supposed to have like a follow-up email, right? Like what are we going to do with any interested contacts who fill out our form? And that hasn't really been thought through. And so you have a leaky funnel. These are all things that I think all of us can relate to in some way, shape, or form, and I wanted to combat it. So I'm a professional facilitator, and whether it doesn't have to be me, you need somebody. My point is whether you're producing a podcast or hosting a webinar, you need a dedicated facilitator for your event because they can help you with gaining buy-in and alignment from execs and overcoming fear of inertia around events. Saying, I'm the champ. I'm going to lead the charge. This is going to be exciting. Kyle Mathis is this for us in spades, right? He is absolutely leading the charge for TRIIBE Talks. He got all of us, everybody on the line here going, we'll go do it. You're right. Let's pull it off. They also provide planning and project management. Here's what's coming up. There are a number of communications, even for this very show here that we're on, that helped us out, really get everybody in the right place. You need someone who's an expert at the MC role and able to recruit and train others internally to be great at it. So again, I'm not always the person that my clients will hire to put on stage, but I will coach and recruit those voices and faces that probably wouldn't have gotten on stage without someone to believe in them, to back them up and say, I'll help you polish that. I'll help you be ready. Here's what you do. Here's what can work for you. They should be very good at that as a facilitator for events. And confidence in finding potential collaboration, promotion sponsors. A lot of events don't get off the ground without someone to partner with you on sponsoring it and promoting it and so on. So someone who's conversant in that, understanding that. Also, someone who knows how to use events to be interactive and participatory, like I'm trying to do a little bit here, so people can get things done and create a little bit of value, have some takeaways before they sign off. And then also someone who's not just thinking about that event, but how does this event lead into the podcast, lead into the next event, lead into the online community? They need to be thinking bigger. And oftentimes, again, folks, you just don't have somebody owning this area of the whole production. And so this stuff gets overlooked. So you've already heard me say, I've been at this for 20 years now. Since the days of HubSpot Academy and beyond, produced some very high-ranking sessions at Inbound, HubSpot's biggest stage around the world, talking about this. And I've been able to triple pipeline for companies from their community events and partner programs that were powered through these webinars and podcasts that I helped them put on, helped their team put on. So what sets these great webinars apart then? What is the ingredients? Here's a framework I use to create impactful webinars, and you can do the same. First, align leadership, secure buy-in. Are we really doing this? Are you going to really help us promote it? Are you going to give us the slides on time? Are you going to participate with one of your best executives or your subject matter experts? Getting that buy-in. Then planning every detail with templates and checklists. Show them this isn't just a thrown together hodgepodge thing. If you want to get big time results, you've got a framework, you've got a plan, and everything goes in the right place. And then strong project management. You heard me talk about that. Technical expertise. You're comfortable with the platforms that you're using. Easier said than done, as we all know. And then someone who's going to think about the follow-up to capitalize on event momentum. Anytime I didn't do that, lackluster return on investment. Anytime we did focus on it, you got momentum, and the next event's going to be even better. You got people feeding into it. What are the tools and templates that'll help you bake that cake? If I just told you the ingredients, what are the tools that will help us bake it? Core tools I use to streamline planning. A webinar brief template, single source of truth. What are we doing? Let's get it all summarized in brief on day one. 2 is the run of show, or ROS. It's just minute by minute, what's going to be on the screen, who's going to say it, where does the content exist, does a video need to be played, and so on. Sure, I did that a little bit with us informally. He told us we're going to play the movie, then Mahir will go first, and then Nick. You got to have that little bit of a game plan so it's not a total scrum. Technical checklist. Now, you will find if you do a number of these things that you will discover stuff. I can guarantee you what's on Mahir's technical checklist. I'm going to work on getting a mic or work on that sound check and whatever he's working on in the background. We've all been there. These are all lessons learned and that we document and put into our knowledge base so we can get better and better. TRIIBE is doing it. Everybody here is working on it. Nobody's perfect. And then a promotion plan. This thing is not just going to promote itself. We got to get who are we even doing this for? Do we know who these people are? Who's reaching out to these people? Who's going to invite whom? All right. How are we going to email them? Do we have budget for that? Are we doing any advertising? Getting all that aligned. And then a KPI dashboard, key performance indicators, right? You have to bring your data. This is how many people we reached out about this event. Here's how many people actually engaged with it. Here's what they did afterwards. These are key ingredients to bake this cake. So just doing a quick drill down here. And then we're going to pass it over to Mahir in just a few minutes. Webinar brief template has these sort of pieces. Don't worry about reading the entire slide. The deck will be available for you afterwards if you want, but an overview of the event, who's it for, what's that rough agenda, and how are we going to promote it. If you have these things even in shorthand at the beginning, it allows you to go to the different teams and fill out those other templates more effectively. You got a starting point. So here's an example of what a run of show template could look like from a couple of these events that I've done in the past. And you see there, what's going to happen minute one? Where is that going to happen? Do we have the multimedia for it? What's the MC going to say to tee that person up? If the stakes are high enough, the budget's big enough, this level of detail can be very important to sticking the landing here. Ensure everybody knows what needs to happen and when. That technical checklist could look something like this. Guys, I used AI to drum this up from a number of various checklists we've used over time. Don't sweat the format, but do think about these three categories. Have we created a list of lessons learned or best practices for what we should do pre-webinar technically with the platform, the tools, the mics, the lighting, the whatever? During the webinar, the streaming platform, what have you? Post-webinar, what are we doing with the technical checklist there? And a success story is when you bring all that stuff together. I did this for a company. They're a marketing agency. They're used to doing this, but they had a number of third-party people coming in, and they just wanted someone who was used to kind of riffing on the fly. And also they had a number of interactive things. They want to do a quiz in there. We want a live demo. They just want somebody to be ready to make sure those things fire off at the right time and that it felt smooth for these 3 or 4 different parties to come together and sound like a cohesive team. So just a little case study here. You can do it too. It's possible. And again, I don't work for these organizations. They brought me in because I knew them and I knew the industry, and I was able to help facilitate that easily. So let's talk about ingredient D, which is the promotional strategy brief. Again, we just want to be able to arm the people who are going to be doing marketing for us, whether it's emails, some stuff in social media. Maybe you're going to be sort of contacting people individually. Give them some ammo. What is this about again? What are the pain points we're going to be addressing? The sooner we have this available, the sooner the people who do marketing for us or our partners, our sponsors who might help us market, they can act, they can plan, they can prepare. I don't know about you folks if you've ever been involved in planning something like this, but usually this stuff is an afterthought. It comes in too late, last minute, and now you're trying to shove your program into the marketing calendar when they're already like, you should have talked to us weeks ago. We can't accommodate this. I've lived it. I don't know about other folks if you've lived this type of thing. So just I'm walking you through what could be in a template like this to help with promotional strategy. Who's the target audience? What is our messaging to them? How are we going to address them? What are the channels how we're going to reach them? Which is the one we'll focus on. Usually email marketing, if I have to give you one, would be the best. Social marketing, social media is just icing on the cake. Just give you a little extra social proof, a little bragging rights, but email is really your bread and butter in my experience. And then the KPI template I told you about could look something like this. How many people registered? How many people attended? How many people were dropping off? And most software platforms, Zoom, On24, I mean, even StreamYard, I think to a degree, can give you a lot of these readouts. But don't just think just about the webinar itself. How well did we do on promotion? Because even if these people don't show up to the event, if they heard that you're the type of organization that cares so much about this topic and these pain points and so on for this target audience, that you put on an event for them, that's still good that you touched and reached that person with the fact that you're willing to do that. Yes, and then how well did we do at engaging the folks in the webinar? I told you how important that is. And then what are the outcomes? Are we getting any other opportunities from this? Any donations from this? Any new volunteers from this? What did we expect to get out of this? And did we solve for that? How are we doing on that? And if you can track this stuff kind of in real time, you're sharing this out with people, it's a bit of a burn down. How are we doing? Do we have enough? Do we need to switch something in time? It's great to have these things in place. If you do this, folks, hopefully you will hear reviews like I've been getting from my work here in the past. They're good at bringing stakeholders together, corralling the people to make it happen. That's the work of a facilitator, and make them feel good and look good. Work with the creative team. This is a copywriter. Work with your designers, the people in marketing, whoever is writing for you. Partner with them, and they can help you out as well. So if you are looking for help, I am here to help. This is not a hard pitch. But I really admire what TRIIBE is doing and the types of nonprofits that might be a part of this. So if you'd like just a little bit of coaching, maybe a little masterminding, that's available. If there's maybe a one-off event you might want to try having a professional facilitator MC for, we can talk about that. Or if there maybe you need someone who's going to be the head of communications, the head of community and stuff like that, depending on your organization and the size and whatever, perhaps there's a way I can help you out there as well. I do fractional head of community, head of events type of engagements. So now as I wrap up here, folks, pulse check. I wanted you to ask yourself, how confident do you feel that your next event will meet your business goals? Are you a 5? I think with this type of information, Nick, or even just your pep talk here, I'm good to go. Maybe you're a little bit lower. And I would say if you're a 3 or below, definitely something you want to talk about because it's not going to fix itself. And there are just lots of different nuances that you don't want to encounter for the first time in front of everybody. So Prisha's saying she's a 5. Awesome. Love to hear that, Prisha. And please let me know if you want to get a copy of this deck or any other material like that. So again, if you'd like to meet with me, you can take action is nextlevelinbound/meet Nick. I'll drop that in the chat on YouTube as well. And then the last thing is I have my own podcast as well. It's called Vision to Vibe. I interview marketing and sales leaders who have pulled this type of thing off. It went from a vision to creating a vibe, something that really lasted. If they could be a head of design, they could be the head of partnerships, they could be the CEO, they could be the head of events. I've interviewed them all and will continue to interview them. And frankly, if you have pulled something off, you've had a vision that you pulled off a vibe, I'd love to interview you as well. Maybe we'll have some of the folks here on this call featured in a future podcast. So again, Chirag, thank you so much for being the host. Mahir, I know you got this, man. I'm ready to tap you in. But thank you everybody for being here, for bearing with us as we pull this thing together on a wing and a prayer. There's a labor of love, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I really admire this community and what we're doing.
Oh man, that was absolutely amazing, Nick. Thank you so much. Appreciate sort of jumping in there with some of the technical difficulties. I know Mahir is absolutely excited to sort of take over control of the stage one more time. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, please, Nick he's being serious when he says that he wants to be an asset and a resource for all of you. So make sure to reach out, and at least at the bare minimum, I'm going to continue to buy you a little bit more time to take your phones out and scan the QR code there for the LinkedIn page. So at least you can connect with him and stay in contact. You never know when something might come in handy a little bit later in the future. Nick, once again, thank you so much. And I'm going to pause here for a quick moment. We do have about 2 minutes in case anyone has any questions that they would want to ask of Nick right now. Once again, if you have any questions or comments for Nick, right now is your perfect time to toss them into the comments. We're going to wait about 5 seconds in order to give this.
And I'll say, Chirag, I'm hanging out in the margins, in the wings. If people want, I'm watching the chat on YouTube. So if you folks want to ask me a question there or on LinkedIn, if you QR code me, and I also put in the podcast, you can subscribe there and keep in touch.
Beautiful.
All right. And then
I guess we do have a question. Yeah.
How many months or weeks ahead should we start advertising a webinar? Prisha, I'd say as early as you possibly can would be the short answer, because what I was pointing out is the webinar itself is not even the real target here. It's an excuse to tell people that you care enough about the problems that they want solved and that you're in the market actively putting programming together and engage them. So as soon as I know that that's happening, as soon as we sat down and we did the webinar brief, now my next meeting is going to the marketing team, if I'm not basically the marketing team, and saying, here's what we know so far. Here's the date. Here's a little bit. We're working on the rest of the details, but put this out, put this in the schedule. Let's start teasing it. But, as far as the main pushes and stuff, Prisha, I think 4 to 6 weeks out is a pretty good target if you had to sort of pick a time range. And then let's also remember that many of us make a decision to show up somewhere, anywhere, sometimes that day. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, I only have a week to go or I only have a couple days. Put it out there. You never know who might just be saying, hey, I'm actually free in a couple hours. I'll do this now. And then there's some people who registered for you 6 weeks ago who then flake out and don't show, even though they had 6 weeks notice. So 6 one, half dozen the other, but great question.
Amazing. And with that, any other questions, y'all? We're going to pause just a quick moment here. Again, Nick is around. So what we're going to do is actually, Nick, we're going to move over to Mahir right now. But yes. Again, Nick is in the background. So please do toss any other questions that you have. If we have a little bit of time left in the sort of end, we'll bring Nick back on stage to answer some of those as well.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much, Nick. Once again, I'm going to move you off the stage now. And Mahir, I'm bringing you right back on, brother. Okay.
Awesome. Excited to be back. I hope this is better. This is
definitely better. Definitely better than what we had before.
There we go.
I think the funniest thing was at one point someone goes, it sounds like you're in a club right now. And that's literally, but you've got it right now, dude. You know what? I'm not going to take any more of your time here. We already have. By all means, take it away from here.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful talk, Nick. I mean, I can definitely use some tips from you. First few times doing this, as you can tell, acting training does not give you the great technicalities of running a webinar. So it could definitely use some help there. But anyways, if I want to hop right back into what I was talking about. So I got featured, but about how strong and how fast I'm building. Funny story there. I didn't even know I was being interviewed for Business Insider. One of my friends he called me up and he's like, hey, this guy's doing like a little interview about your dating life while being a founder. So I had no idea that 2 months later it's going to be the first thing I see on Business Insider. So that was kind of a shock there. But what I want to take from that article is how founders are moving, right? And how fast and how some of the sacrifices that we have to do to keep our business running because it's this game of survival. And to join that game of survival, you need to move fast, and you can't be afraid of taking the first step in. Like even with this situation right here, I'm going to use that as an example. You're in a webinar and things start going haywire. Now, a lot of people would start to panic there, and they would start to act in a way where it wouldn't. They would start panicking, right? And what's most important is you need to ground yourself, and you need to say, hey, it's a mishap for all humans. It happens. And next you just hop right back into it, and you take initiative. And you need to make sure that if a mishap happens, that means you got to go do more webinars, right? It's not something that, oh, you don't want to do more. Oh, you're closed off to this. You want it. If you're bad at something, don't do more of it. That is taking initiative. That is taking the leap. And that is ambition. We'll move on to my next slide. Here's what I'm building. I'm building Velrick. It's the benchmark of talent acquisition and hiring based on AI scoring. And how I came up with this idea is when I was working at our family office, I noticed that millions of dollars were going into baseball hiring because people were, first of all, they weren't being placed in the right category of work. There's a lot of pressure on HR directors. There was a lot of pressure on people to get work done and people to get other people hired. And because of that, rushed hiring was there. A lot of resumes scanned were there, and sometimes HR directors just put in the first resumes they see, and they hired that person, right? And we knew there had to be better solutions. So what Velrick does is we're creating the benchmark for talent acquisition by AI scoring. And how it works is user comes onto the platform, they input their background, and based off of their background, they get personalized missions, and with those personalized missions, they finish them, and they get in-depth data analytics and a score. Are you bullshitting on your resume or not? Right? That's the main clear overview. And then with that, recruiters can technically see, and our AI match makes them directly. So that's the problem that we're trying to solve. And I started working on this in August, like I said before, and it was truly a battle of, hey, what do I need to do? How do I do it? I would say for the first 3 months, out of the 6 months that I'm building this, the first 3 months was where I wasn't taking action. I think those were where, those are the moments where founders question themselves. They question their product. They question themselves. They question their teams. Right? And they aren't hopping on things right away. And that's, I think the big leap for me was when I decided to quit NYU. It was sort of at the spur moment. It was Friday night. It was Friday right after class, and I just had a feeling. It was a feeling of where I finished the class and I was like, this is not it. I just spent 4 hours in the classroom and I wasn't thinking about what was being taught in the classroom. All I was thinking about was work. How can I grow this even more? And at that point, I thought, what was the step that I needed to take to get rid of those thoughts in my head? I went to the counselor same day, without even consolidating my parents, without telling my family. Being Indian, you have to go through family when making these big decisions. Not saying to do that, but this is what I did. I took a leap, and I took a risky leap, and I basically gave away a part of my tuition, and I was like, no, I can't do this. I think I would be better off working full time. The first day after I quit school was really mind opening. At first, I was like, at first I was like, what do I need to do? And then I was spending a lot of time outside, just going to events, not really working. And that's when I realized you really have to take that leap of just jumping in and working, right? Whether that is going to events, whether that is doing something, whether that's talking to a person that you've been wanting to talk to. Like, for example, one of the things that I've really learned is the fact of, oh, what is this person going to think if I DM him? What is this person going to say if I ask him a question? Well, no, you're not going to know if you don't ask, right? We need to stop caring about what other people think. And it's like this is the most overused quote there is, but it is so true. You're going to miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that is true. If you don't ask, let's say if you're trying to get an advisor, and if you're scared to do that LinkedIn DM, or if you're scared to call them, then you have to take that leap of faith. You have to jump off that cliff to eventually soar. I kind of started to talk about this. Confidence doesn't come before action; it comes after. Like I said, once you start taking those jumps, once you start jumping off those cliffs, it's like going learning how you're diving for the first time at a pool, right? The first few jumps are going to be really scary, but the more you do it, the more it's going to repeat again, and you're going to get that confidence. And that's one of the biggest things that I learned in acting school. I think if I had to give one tip, it would be to take an acting class. Not because you're going to be an actor, but because an acting class is going to teach you confidence. And how it's going to do that is literally because they're going to break you down in front of everyone. They're going to bring out the 5-year-old in you. They're going to be like, oh, you have to act like a child. Oh, you have to make your face bigger, shrink your face. And they're going to make you do a bunch of movements. And that gives you a lot of confidence. If you can do that in front of other people, if you could go do weird shit on stage, you are already going to be past that top. You're already going to surpass the 90% of people. Stop waiting for permission. Who are you waiting for permission for, right? I mean, of course, don't directly do what I did. Drop out of college without telling your family, without telling anyone. Of course, do that. But even in the little things, right? Don't wait for permission. Just if you know you have to do something, trust your gut. This is the most overrated thing. If your gut says you need to do this, don't just stick around. Go do it. The right time. There is no right time, right? You have to do something. Like, if, for example, if you want to apply to YC and you think you're not nowhere near the product, apply to YC, because they care more about the founders than they do about the product. They care about how confident you are, how you can express yourself, how you can make them believe that, hey, this will succeed, right? There's a reason why YC has, why you can apply to YC unlimited times. And same goes with a lot of other venture capitalists. The safer option. You got to stop chasing. If you want to be a founder, if you want to run your own business, or if you want to do something of your own, you can't be taking the safer option. You have to go do what's risky. You can't be doing what somebody else is already doing. People say, follow this marketing strategy, follow that, follow this. Oh, I'm too scared to talk in front of the camera. Here's another thing. Distribution is everything. 50% of the opportunities I've had is because I have been posting excessively on LinkedIn. I've been posting excessively on Instagram. That gave me 50% of the opportunities that I've had. The other 50% have come from going to events, going to events in New York. Leverage your location. I'm not saying it is impossible to build a business when you're in the middle of nowhere, but if you're based out of a big city, use it. You should be going out every day, hunting for those events, because that's where I meet people like Kyle. That's where I meet people like Chirag. That's where I meet the whole ecosystem. And here's the thing: never have an ego when you're going to some of these events. Talk to as many people as you can, because guess what? Even if somebody talks for an hour and you're like, oh, this is boring, you'll always remember one line. You'll always remember like 1% of something that somebody's saying, and that's truly what makes you smarter. That's how you expand your knowledge base and you really become an industry expert in some of the things that in some of the things that you want to start. Like I said, confidence comes after action. It doesn't comes. It comes before action, and it comes after. I waited too long. And then I realized you don't feel ready, then you move. You move, then you become ready. Right? I left NYU not because I knew it and knew it would work, but because I knew waiting wouldn't. I knew that NYU just wasn't serving me purpose. It's an amazing school, but I was slowly dying while I was sitting in that chair in class. The real risk. People think that real risk is leaving school, turning down stability, going against expectation. Yes, it is a risk. But you know what the real risk is? Waiting until you feel ready. Following a path that you never thought you would. Spending the teenage years on someone else's plan. So many of my friends reach out to me saying, "Hey, you don't go party, you don't drink alcohol, you don't do drugs, you don't do this. You're always working. What's the fun in that?" And guess what? I don't think I've ever been happier in my life working 16 hours a day for my company because I want to achieve something and those are my goals. If you are really in love with being a founder, if you're really in love with starting something of your own, you have to fall in love with doing the work. You cannot not enjoy the work. The work has to be fun. Otherwise, I'm sorry, your company will not survive. Um, Playing it safe with the what if. You have to stop thinking about the hypotheticals. You really have to stop. A lot of people keep asking me, "Oh, what if they say this? What if they say that?" I touched briefly on this before. It doesn't matter. What if like same thing with this webinar, right? What if anything goes wrong? So what if things went wrong? That's fine. You have a comeback, right? And hopefully nobody's going to judge you. Even if they do, it doesn't really matter, right? Because there's 7 billion people in the world, right? And if a few people don't like you or they judge you, they're irrelevant. As an owner, as a founder, you have to think about the people that matter. You have to think about the people. You don't have to think about the people that don't matter, right? You have to take in all the positives and you have to throw away all the negatives. It is taking these risks is an expensive choice. It really is. When you have a family and when you have a support system that supports you, it gets easier. A lot of people don't have that, and I completely understand that. I can't talk too much from that. Talk too much from there because my family is very supportive of my business, of my grind, and I am truly very grateful for that. And if you have that at home, you should be very grateful. You really should be very grateful because a lot of people don't have that. I know a lot of founders who have difficulties building their business because their family's not supportive, because their friends are not supportive. So if you have a family who is very supportive, then really take advantage of it and really be grateful because not a lot of people do. Now, let's talk about what you need to do, right? Ambition is not a personality. Every single person can have ambition, right? It is all based off of decision. You have to. There's a reason why there's tiers to this world, and that's the reality. There are tiers, and as much as you hate to say it, it's because the people at the top are very ambitious, and a lot of people aren't. And people can try to be ambitious, but sometimes it is very difficult. But when you put your mind to something, you can really achieve it. I remember when I was still in high school, um, I would not consider myself ambitious. I thought working 7 or 8 hours a day was like, wow, I did this. Oh wow, I worked 8 hours a day. But I'm sorry to burst your bubble. In the world that we're living in, working 8 hours a day is not ambitious. It's not ambition. There's such thing as working smart, yes, but you still need to hustle. What else can I do in my business to grow it? What else can I do right now to start something? What else can I do? Whenever you're not sleeping, every decision you make should be about what else can I do. Here are the 4 moves that you should be making. Message someone you admire. In fact, call them. Call someone you admire and ask them a real question. And don't make it a pitch. Don't try to sell them your startup. Don't try to give them an idea, but ask real questions. Ask about how they did it. Ask about their journey. Ask about their experience, because guess what? People love talking about themselves. I know I do, right? Ask people about their journey because you're going to learn a lot. Don't make the same mistakes as the person that you're listening to, right? They're going to tell you about all the mistakes that you made. Take that into perspective. Don't take every single advice either, right? There's going to be a lot that people throw at you, and there's going to be a lot of contradicting things you have to take, and you have to bring those together and create your own path. Apply for the thing that you're not ready for. Like I said, if you need funding, apply to YC, apply to startups. You are ready, no matter what. Even if it's just an idea, apply, because a lot of people get funding that way. Start the project, ship immediately, right? There's a lot of people say that, hey, I'm validating the product. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Revenue is the most important thing. You need to start making revenue right away. Even if your product is not fully done, figure out a way to create multiple streams of revenue. That's how your business is going to go to the next level. And that's how you get out of the startup ecosystem. I have to say, as much as I love the people in it, sometimes the businesses do not go where they expect it to go, just because all they care about is marketing and the clout, right? There's no point of marketing and there's no point of clout if you're not going to turn that into revenue. You need to put food on the table somehow. You can't just be living off of VC money. Walk into intimidating rooms and introduce yourself. I know I had struggled with this when I first started going to events. People would be mingling, jingling, right? And it would seem like everybody would know each other, but everybody is there to network. People are there to talk to other people. So don't be afraid to just put out your hands and say, hey, my name is Mahir. Nice to meet you. What do you do? Are you from New York, right? Ask those questions and learn about their journey. I want you to take a challenge this week. Make one of these moves, right? You don't need more time. You need momentum. And make one of these moves, and I guarantee you, there's no way anything could go wrong. You will always learn something out of it. Awesome. And I think I'll conclude with that. I've talked so much, but I would love to hear some questions if you guys have any. But yeah, that's my little 2 cents about really taking the leap and really taking the action, right? There's going to be a lot of people who put you down, but you just got to push through it, because that's what being a founder is all about. Awesome. Awesome. Hopefully, Nick, you could tell me if that was better. Awesome. Love to hear it. All right. 100%, right? Things go wrong, it doesn't matter. Things will always go wrong. As a founder, you're going to have so many struggles. You're going to have so many difficulties. You're gonna be late to one of the most important meetings in your life one day, and you're gonna be thinking, oh, the world is against you. But it's really helping you, because it's teaching you new experiences, and it's teaching you new ways to be positive, right? The whole goal is to be happy with what you're doing. Awesome. course, of course.
Okay, pausing there, right? For any other final questions. Otherwise, please do remember that you can connect with our amazing speakers. I'm going to bring up Nick as well. Once again, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to sort of everyone here today. Once again,
Awesome.
y'all, if you are looking to get involved with TRIIBE is looking to make sure that founders that are getting started in high school and college don't get off of that path, but rather are able to continue and do some amazing work out there. Unfortunately, only 1% of resources and funding make their way to them. Let's work to change that number as soon as we possibly can. The next event, the QR code is right here, and we are encouraging you once again to join us again as we get to hear from changemakers, sort of new generation, and those that have come before us to learn some lessons and hopefully earn some sort of guidance on how to move forward. Nick and Mahir, any last parting thoughts from the two of you before we close out today?
No, I want to just thank you guys for coming, and sorry about the mishap in the beginning. Hopefully we can push past that and take all the positives.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It just goes to show what you said at the very end, Mahir. Like, things are going to happen. The most important thing is that you stay cool, you adjust, and that's what folks saw here live and in full color today. So it was awesome.
Beautiful. Exactly. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.